Hi, everybody. It's episode 524 of PodQuest.
Hey.
It is Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. I am Chris. With me is Drew
Hello.
and Walnut.
Hi, I'm here.
Welcome. Welcome back. Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks. I'm always here.
sometimes you're not.
When was the last time I wasn't?
I mean, like, air quote, physically you're here, but you're not always here. You're not always present, is what I'm saying.
True.
Sometimes you're somewhere else.
I mean, almost always I'm not present mentally, but here physically.
Yeah, exactly. In this case, it's just, the air quote physically because you're not really right here.
Yeah.
But yeah, how you guys doing?
Oh, it's been a long few weeks, and I'm exhausted.
I feel that.
I am also tired. Today in particular was just a long day.
Yeah. I think I pulled 10 hours on Monday.
Oh.
Almost 10 hours. No, over 10 hours on Monday, and then I think at least 9.5 yesterday. Today was only about 9, maybe 9.25, something like that. But yeah, I'm always today was actually the lightest day, and it just somehow I had a meeting at fucking 4:00, and that's what happened.
I hate that stuff.
And I would understand it if maybe the person who's setting up the meeting isn't from the East Coast, but no, they're from the East Coast. So it was also 4:00 for them. But what it was is one of the people in the meeting is going on vacation for a few days until Tuesday. And so they wanted to have a meeting before she left. And I was like, well, couldn't have picked any other time.
Yeah, I mean, even if they're on the West Coast, there's no reason that they have to wait till the end of day for the East Coast.
Right.
Right. They could have easily done an 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock meeting and had it be just early afternoon for you and missed both of your lunch times.
Yeah, but also I understand that at least if they were on West Coast and they didn't think of the time difference, I understand that more so than someone who's East Coast planning a meeting for 4:00. I had to put on my freaking hoodie at 4:00, or not hoodie, but I have because we have to have our cameras on during meetings. I have a sweater that I have to put on that's work appropriate.
Wait,
because
really?
Yeah. I have to.
That's dumb on many levels.
I can't just wear right now. I'm wearing my Eagles Super Bowl champion T-shirt. I can't just wear that during a meeting.
You don't talk to clients though, right? You only ever have meetings with internal people.
Yeah,
that is the dumbest bullshit.
I have to have my camera on, and which means I also say I decided to grow my hair out again and dye it. Can't do that. So I can't dye my beard a weird color if I wanted to.
That is a company run by fucking old people that just don't understand work culture anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's mandatory that every meeting, and this is a new thing, recent, within the past 3 or 4 months. It's a new every meeting you have to have your camera on.
And that's fine. I know plenty of places that do require that or prefer it for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But I only have to look presentable if it's a meeting with a client.
Yep. No.
Yeah.
No.
If I'm just on a call with even my bosses, I can just be in a t-shirt. They don't care.
Yeah.
Usually they are too.
Yeah. No. We have to look presentable.
That's so fucking stupid.
It is. It's so dumb. But
well,
like I said, I have my first year here. So 2020, that Christmas, they told everybody or all the employees pick out a shirt or a sweater or whatever from this list of shirts, and we're gonna send it to you for free, and it's all logoed with the company's name on it. So that's just what I save.
Yeah,
it's behind me, and I just put it on.
I actually I do have that too. I have they have sent us so far in the 10 years I've been here 2 fleece zip up jackets.
Mm-hmm.
One of them I just keep up in my office in case I do have to jump on an unexpected client meeting. I can put that on. It just has the iCore logo on it. And then I have one polo with the logo on it that if I know a meeting's coming up, I'll grab that usually.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't usually wear that to clients, so it's usually available and clean.
Yeah.
But what's on the agenda?
On the agenda, we all watched this little-known indie film called Godfather Pt II. Cobb, you went to Anime NYC up in New York City. That's what NYC is. And then both me and Cobb played a number of video games: Escape the Backrooms, Stray Gods, and Star Ocean Second Story R. We're going to talk about those.
So, what did you guys think of The Godfather Part 2?
So, I will admit, I was not looking forward to watching this movie. It's one of this film series in general is a film series where it's like everyone talks high about it and loves it, and it's like it's the greatest film of all time. And I got afraid that maybe it might not live up to hype. And then on top of that, my understanding prior to watching this movie is that like these were like back to back. Now I don't know the time difference between the first one and this one, but it seemed relatively not that close to each other. And so, like, I wasn't looking forward to it because I was like, I'm not going to understand anything. I'm not going to get it. I'm not going to know what's going on. I'm not going to know who's who, this, that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Come on, Chase. Really?
Yeah, all right?
He's just threw up.
Oh, do you have to go take care of that?
He's going to eat it. I can't do anything about it.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Fucking dogs. But go ahead. What were you saying now?
So it's... I was just like, all right, well, I wasn't looking forward to it, so I kind of postponed it and delayed it. And then I ended up watching it during work because I was like, this is probably also going to be a movie that I'm going to be incredibly bored with. And it's 3.5 hours long. There's not going to be a lot that's going on. It's going to be a lot of talking. I can't sit here and watch this. I have to treat this like a podcast. So that's kind of what I did. And
90% of it's in Italian.
Yeah. Well, about probably a good hour of it minimum is in Italian.
Yeah.
So like that's what I did. I watched it during work, and as a podcast, it's a pretty damn good movie. Like I watched it, and like when there were times where I was just running automation, so I was able to sit there and watch it while I was eating lunch because it's 3.5 fucking hours long. And so I was shocked as to how much of the movie I got not having watched the first one.
Yeah, I mean, that's valid. Drew, what did you think?
I pretty much agreed straight along with what Richie was saying. It was pretty easy to follow what was happening in this movie, though I'll say there were a couple times. I'm sure there were things that if we had seen the first movie would make even more sense, but nothing felt like I have no idea why this character cared about something.
Yeah.
It was coherent enough.
I will say the only thing that like kind of came out of nowhere, and I don't know if this is something that was started or built upon in the first one. Like I said, we don't know. I don't know the time difference between the movies, but like after the intermission, all of a sudden they're just in court.
Yeah.
And I don't remember that being built up throughout the movie at all. It just happened.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. So like I don't know if maybe like Godfather Part 1 has something to do with that. If maybe it's like that's what that's them telling the two movies are them telling the story while in court. I don't know. I was completely lost at the whole trial thing, and I'm going to be 100% honest. I liked Michael. I liked him as a character up until the trial. Then he just became an absolute dick to his family, to his ex-wife, kind of to his kids. Like he just became an absolute dick. Like I understand how why he treated his brother the way he did, because his brother tried to kill him or get him killed. But other than that, like, I was like, you know what? You kind of suck now, dude. You were cool, and I liked you up until this point.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that felt very intentional, because agreed, like, Michael is pretty laid out to be, while he's a mafia boss, he's not necessarily coming off as, like, evil for any of the movie until that happens.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's because he now trusts nobody. He feels like he can't trust anybody he thought that was his family. So he's now started to go downhill to be completely dark.
Yeah, which is I get it.
Yeah,
it makes sense. Like the way he's been treated, and his family almost being killed by his own brother, and stuff like that. Like it makes sense. I just like he became. I was like, I love this character. I fucking hate this character.
Yeah. So after watching the movie, I did kind of like look a little bit to try and figure out what the timeline was on things. So obviously, like in this movie, it's a split timeline where we have like 1901 to like the maybe early 30s at the latest, of Vito Corleone like moving to America after his father was murdered, and kind of like his rise in the mafia, up to the point where he goes back to Italy and murders the guy that murdered his father. So Vito, if you guys don't know, is he was the Godfather in the first movie. That's the character that Marlon Brando played in the first movie. At the end of the first movie, he dies. So throughout the first movie, it's like 1945-ish through 1955-ish is kind of like the span of that movie. And that movie is Michael's rise to the head of the family. So like even before Vito dies, Michael becomes the head of the family. And he was a soldier and also not the oldest child. So like, I don't know how he got there, but like you see some of his siblings in this movie that were like older than him, including the one that they kill at the end. So like for whatever reason, he was just the one that was the most, I guess, reliable, you could say. But yeah, so the first movie ends around 55. The second movie is the late 50s. I don't think it all happens in the same year, but it ends around 59, 60. So the first movie's like 10 years. The second movie's maybe 5 years. If it picks up right after the first one ended, which it, like you said, Rich, it doesn't seem like it does. It seems like it picks up at least a couple of years later. Because he is kind of the, he's not just the head of the family. Like it seems like he is in that role and like comfortable in it. He hasn't just assumed it.
Right.
And then the third movie jumps like 20 years. I think it's like the late 70s into the early 80s. So it's like him as like an older man. It was also made in 93. So like it was also several years later that they actually made that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with both of you. It was way easier to follow than I expected it to be. Like, I only kind of knew the like osmosis stuff of the first movie. Like, I knew Marlon Brando was like the guy in charge of the family. I knew the whole like. I know that movie starts with him like accepting requests from people because that's like a thing they do when
the day of his daughter's wedding.
Yeah, exactly. But like that's kind of like all I really knew about.
Yeah, and like I knew it was like his daughter got married at some point throughout the movie, and that's like a throwaway that they did in the beginning of this movie during the party where she comes to him. It's like she's asking for money and she's going to get married, and he's like, the ink on your divorce papers aren't even dry yet, and so like they hint back at that at her divorce or at her wedding in the first movie. Yeah, it was good. Like, and I really enjoyed and wish maybe they just instead pulled a late 2020s kind of thing and made the prequel a different movie. First of all, you could have cut out about an hour of this movie if you just didn't have the prequel shit. But second, you could have opened up more about Vito's rise to power, because like I thought that was a little bit more interesting than everything else that was going on.
Same. I was actually like generally when those scenes came in, I was a little bit more invested. And
you had to be because it was all in Italian.
Well, no, like not just like not dialed into it, like actually invested in what was going on in a way where like I wanted more of that and never quite got enough of it.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, a lot of the like, let's call it present day stuff, even though it wasn't present day, is like it's drier. Like it is just a lot of people sitting around talking. Whereas that stuff was at least like they were out like in the city, like interacting with people. There's like the confrontation he has with like the one lady's like landlord. And you kind of like see that like not only did he sort of like rise up in like the American mafia of the time, but like he also kind of became like a de facto like defender of like the poor in 1920s the Bronx or wherever they were supposed to be.
Brooklyn, I think it was.
Brooklyn. So
it also like just showed the difference between the two, like what Vito was and trying to do, and he was a gangster, he was a murderer, but he was protecting the people. Whereas you kind of get a feeling, at least like partway through, that Michael, and like they even say it at one point, like he's trying to make the business legitimate. Like he is a businessman, and that's it. And like he's also like he only really cares about himself and his family, and he doesn't care about the people around him. He cares about who's in his family, and that's it. And like it felt like, you know, he's just a little too big for what like Vito started, it seemed.
Well, so like, and to be fair, like Vito did not start like the mafia. Vito, I think it's explained in the first movie is the gist I got. Like he did some shit that put him in charge of the families.
Yeah.
Like he was responsible for a hit on like the 5 families. So like the 5 heads of like the mafia at that point, like he had all of them killed simultaneously and just assumed leadership. Mm-hmm. So like at a certain point, Vito also was not a very good person. Even beyond the stuff that he tried to do as a younger man. But I think that's also the kind of the corruption arc of Michael through the movies. Because you see at the end of this one, in the 1940s, like he decides to go off and join like the Marines or the Navy or something like that, like during World War II. Mm-hmm. And like his family was not happy about it, except for the one brother that he had killed.
Yeah, the one brother that supported him the entire time. Yeah,
like the one that seemed the one that, like, I guess he is. I don't know if he actually did rat or if it was just assumed that he did. I might have missed that because it was such a long movie. But like, yeah, he had his one brother killed that was actually like the decent one of the bunch, but also not fit for the criminal family. And that was the brother that was like congratulating him when he announced that he had joined the army. So I don't know.
So Rolf, through Johnny and Fredo, was behind the assassination attempt. So Fredo, which is his brother,
that was killed at the end of the movie.
That was killed at the end of the movie. Was roped in with Rolf to try to kill Mike.
Oh,
according to discuss the Godfather.quora.com.
Okay, so I missed that.
Mm-hmm. It's a fucking 3.5 hours long.
Yeah,
like, you're gonna miss shit.
I'm assuming that was the hit on the house, like when they were in the bedroom and he like dived and like pulled his wife down.
Yeah.
Okay. Which, like, even a scene like that does go to show that, like, at a certain point he was not like truly evil, because his first thing was he pulled his wife down and then like shielded her.
Yeah.
So on Wikipedia, it does say the film never reveals what specific assistance Fredo provides Ola and Roth against Michael, or how much of he knew of their intentions, or what was offered in return. So it like talks about the scene where he agrees to aid them, but never makes it very clear exactly what he did. So it was probably something we easily all missed.
He probably, Fredo probably is the one who had the curtains open.
Yeah, or who knows? Yeah,
or provided like info on who like their housekeeper was or something like that. Like got them connected with the person that would be in the bedroom to open the curtains.
Yeah, yeah. It was probably something that like was like, it was probably something small that led to him potentially being attacked and almost killed, that then led to him being murdered.
Yeah, but yeah, overall, surprisingly actually enjoyable movie. When I saw how long it was and knowing that it was an older movie, I'm just like, oh, fuck everything.
Like I knew this was a long movie. I did not know it was 3.5 hours long.
Like same, like I thought it was like a 2.5 hours, and it was 3, and I'm just like, what the living fuck?
I knew it was at least 3 hours.
I also like, I was a little bummed because like I got Coppola confused with Scorsese. I don't like Scorsese movies. I think he has like maybe 1 or 2 movies that I don't think are just hot garbage. But most of what he does are overly long, boring fucking gangster movies. Mm-hmm. And like Coppola also does those, but his apparently I've never actually really like watched any of his movies, and he's also done like a bunch of other stuff too. Like I was looking at his like movies like directed or whatever the other day. I'm trying to bring it up again now. And like there were some on here where I'm just like, huh, the guy who did The Godfather also did that. Interesting. What was it? So Francis Ford Coppola did the 3 Godfather movies. Also did the 1996 comedy drama Jack, starring Robin Williams, where he like ages super fast.
Okay.
Yeah, he ages fast.
Yeah. So like he's like a 40-year-old, but he's the
in
body of a
elementary
40-year-old,
school.
but he's only 10 in mentally. And he also did like the Bram Stoker's Dracula movie with Keanu Reeves and Gary Oldman and stuff. Like Coppola's actually done a bunch of like movies that are in like different genres. And in my head, he was just he was another one of those like Scorsese's. But I'm like, oh, okay, no, he's actually like he does all sorts of stuff. He isn't just the one horse or the one trick pony.
Mm-hmm.
Like Apocalypse Now and Peggy Sue Got Married. Like the dude has tried different genres. So once I realized that, I'm like, oh, okay, like this guy is not the boring one. I got him confused.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I may honestly at some point I may actually go watch the first Godfather.
Originally that was gonna be my plan, was to watch the original Godfather after watching this one. But then when like I learned that it was not entirely connected, or not that it wasn't entirely connected, but like when I was like not lost watching it, I was like, I don't have to watch it now. I'm fine. This movie can stand alone on its own, which is good.
And like kind of rare for something like this, frankly.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I am curious enough that like it's probably not gonna be anytime soon, but I will probably eventually like watch the first one. If for nothing else, to also be able to say like I've seen the first two Godfather movies. I've heard the third one actually is not as well appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
It was also made like 20 years later. So who knows? But yeah, maybe. Is there anything else you guys want to say about The Godfather Part 2?
No.
Well then, Richard, what is your pick?
All right. So I've been trying to figure this out for a long time, for the past few weeks, what it was going to be. I've jumped back and forth. At one point, I was like, "Oh, what if we did Weekend at Bernie's 2?"
I've seen both of them. They're great movies. They're so stupid.
I know, but it's not available for free anywhere. It's only for rent. I'm like, I don't really want to rent that movie.
Oh yeah, that is stupid.
And I know for a fact, like Weekend at Bernie's 2 is immediately after Weekend at Bernie's, which I was like, this definitely fits. So then I was like, you know what? What was the first movie? We did Godfather.
Jaws 3D.
Jaws 3D, which was all right, a little bit over the top, but still like kind of serious, but spooky, but not. We had Godfather, which was super serious. I'm like, let's not go super serious. So I was like, should I do Minions or Despicable Me, or do they all fit in one? So I'm gonna do Despicable Me 3 because I've never seen the first or second one, and I don't think the fourth one is available.
Yeah, I appreciate that that you didn't pick the Minions because those things fucking annoy me.
I thought about like doing I was like, does the first Minions count because it is a spin-off, or would it have to be like the Rise of Gru Minions or whatever? And I'm like, you know what? Let's just do Despicable Me because I've never seen any of them, and I hear at least the first one's great.
I
remember the first one being like it was cute. It was good.
Yeah.
It's not a bad movie at the very least.
Unoffensive movie for kids.
It's no Paddington 2.
Agreed.
And so I'm like, since we just had The Godfather, which is a very heavy movie and a very long movie, let's get something nice and easy and short and fun and silly. So I was like, let's go.
Despicable Me 3, a tight 90 minutes.
Look at that. So let's go. I was like 2 or 3. Which one? I've never seen either, so we'll just go with 3 because it'll be fun. And I think these movies are also kind of like you need to know the basic gist, but outside of that, they're standalone movies.
So I don't know that any of us have the thing that 3 is on.
3 should be Peacock.
Let me double check that because I just did Just Watch and it came up as not, but 2 was on Peacock.
According to Google, oh no, Despicable Me 3 is no longer available. Google was saying it was. 2 is available, so let's just go with 2.
Okay, so Despicable Me 2.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad I checked. Also, just to circle back on Weekend at Bernie's, not only is Weekend at Bernie's 2 not available on a streaming platform for some reason, on Amazon, it is only available to purchase for $15.79.
Jesus. Like I was listening to Conan's podcast, and he was going off about how ridiculous the plot of Weekend at Bernie's 1 and 2 are. And I was just like, you know what? We should watch those. I
mean, they really are. Like, they're just... The first one is one of those more, like... It's unbelievable, but also believable. Like, The second one though, where Bernie gets reanimated by a witch doctor, but only when there's like Jamaican reggae music playing.
Yeah.
So he's like, the whole thing is they go to like his like house on like some Caribbean island to find his buried treasure, because of course. But he gets a spell put on him by a witch doctor first to find this treasure, and he just starts like doing the like that classic like Bernie walk with like the arms just kind of like flailing behind him and like lean back real far. Anytime like that specific style of music is played. And it had to do with something went wrong in the spell, like they used the wrong type of bird or something like that. It was really fucking dumb, but also very funny.
You know, I just realized of another film series that I've never seen, that the one that I want to watch is not available anywhere for free. But I'll let you guys make the call. Would you want to watch Bill and Ted 3, the 2020 version? It
wasn't very good.
I'd never seen any Bill and Ted's, so.
I mean, honestly, they're a movie where like they're like legitimately like dumb fun. You can watch 1 and 2 out of order and still have fun with them.
Yeah, they're on Max.
Bill and Ted 3 very much relies on nostalgia for the first two. If you don't have nostalgia for the first two, the third one does not work in any way, shape, or form.
I believe that.
Because even then, like a lot of the nostalgia doesn't quite work in the third one, because like fucking George Carlin is dead. So like they reference him, they like replace, like they have his daughter show up, which is like not his real life daughter, like in universe daughter, but like he's not around, and like that's a bummer, because while he wasn't like a prominent like always around character in those movies, like he was important in those movies. But yeah, well, you should watch Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey, preferably Excellent Adventure, because that's the better of the two.
Eventually. We'll see. But yeah, it's Despicable Me 2, since 3 is not available on Peacock anymore.
Cool. Well, that is what we shall do then. In 2 weeks, Despicable Me 2.
Yes.
I went to Anime NYC this past weekend.
Nice.
They moved it up several months. It's usually in November. This year, it is in August. It's also going to be in August next year. I'm a little torn. I'm a little torn on that. Like, this weekend was actually nice. Like, it was not a bad time to, like, walk back and forth. Because it sucks. Like, walking there in November isn't always great. But also, like, walking in August could be fucking terrible. Because you have, like, the trade-off of, in November, you kind of have to have a jacket with you. And then you're just uncomfortably warm inside the convention center. Because you're just going to have that jacket with you, and you're either going to be wearing it or like having it like over your shoulder all day. And when you get that many people in a room, you're going to be warm. At least in the summer, you kind of like get there in the morning when it's not too bad out, and then you're in air conditioning all day.
Yeah.
And then depending on how tired you are when you leave, you just get a fucking Uber back to the train, which is what we did. Apparently this year, I got like a wrap up email thing from them. They had 101,000 attendees throughout the 3 days.
Jeez.
So not all one day. That wasn't like the cap for one day, but that's how many people came across the whole weekend, which was up from 65,000 the year before. So like 40,000 additional people, which is, you know, that's pretty fucking cool for them. Because like 6-7 years ago, it was only one small section of like the main exhibit floor at the Javits Center. Like they had like. And Rich, just because like you went to New York Comic Con 2 years ago, like the far side of the show floor where like all the booths were not in rows, and it's like the slightly smaller section, that's what Anime NYC was in like 2018. And now it's that whole show floor.
Nice.
And like they're not necessarily using all of that space optimally still. I feel like this year they took a step back as far as layout went. Last year they had it set up where if you went to the very far right, they had all the food stalls. So like, and it was all like Japanese and like Asian types of food, which was cool because you could get a lot of stuff that normally you weren't going to be getting at the convention center. Like it wasn't just like shitty fucking mac and cheese from a food truck outside for 13 or 14 bucks. Instead, it was like a souffle pancake for $15. But then like from there, they had Artist Alley going like up and down. And then Artist Alley had like a break, and then it became like the expo floor, and that went the rest of the way. And then they had your autographs in like the back of the hall. So like just the back half was like where everyone would queue up, which made it easier to get around because you didn't have those bottleneck areas at the back where some of like the walls come out and stuff like that, but they still do booths all the way back so that everyone just ends up trapped because no one can get around. This year they instead put Artist Alley like back there and had it just run into the expo floor and had the expo floor kind of go all the way across up to that like food area. So you ended up right back with the tons of congestion in the back half of most of the aisles until you got to the far end of the convention floor where there just isn't as much to see because it's all like the bigger booths selling like stuff that I personally don't care about, like very specific types of merch and clothing and stuff like that. That a lot of times once we get over there, it's kind of just like look around and be like, yep, there are booths here, and then kind of go back to the stuff that we liked before. And for whatever reason, they also wrapped a bunch of the food vendors around that back wall. So on top of like the congestion just from it, like those aisles being so close to the end, you also had people trying to wait in line to get like food that were making it impossible to get to those like back booths in some of the aisles. So like I feel like next year they need to either split out Artist Alley the way New York does and put it in a separate part of the convention center, or go back to what they had last year and have them side by side rather than like up and down from each other.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like they had a lot of cool art stuff there. Less of the horny stuff this year.
Okay.
Like, last year there was a lot of borderline pornographic artwork. I feel like this year it definitely scaled back. It was still there, but it was nice that you could like walk around and see stuff that didn't make you like kind of cringe. That is what that community is apparently known for. And then like the expo floor had all sorts of stuff. Less Funko Pops this year, which I feel like last year was probably the last big year for like booths of just tons of Funko Pops. This year it seemed to have a lot more like just people selling statues, like anime statues fucking everywhere. And some of those things are really fucking cool looking.
I think Funko Pops are kind of on their way out at the moment.
I think so,
or at least Funko is maybe not making as many as they were, because that I don't really get as many updates as I used to about releases and things like that, and pops that I would want. Like I've been wanting them to make a Vigilante Deku since the season came out, and they haven't done that, which I'm like, that would be one that people would want. So they're either slowly making way less of them, or they might have just stopped making them because they weren't selling as what they used to.
Yeah, which absolutely makes sense. I think it's cool going through and seeing like all the statues though. Because like some of them are just super fucking cool with the detail and all. Like Rich, I sent you pictures of those Godzilla ones.
Yeah.
The pictures didn't even remotely do them justice. Like I couldn't give a fuck about any of those characters, but those were some of the coolest fucking statues I have ever seen.
Yeah.
Even the Ghidorah one, which was kind of like off to the side. I don't know if that really came through in the picture. That thing was also incredible looking. And Drew and anyone listening, so the one picture that like the main focus of it was like a red like crystal colored Godzilla, like a really big one that had like big dragon wings coming out of it, and it looked like it was getting ready to like breathe like the atomic breath.
I think they were trying to do from King of the Monsters when basically I think that's supposed to be Mothra's wings, when Mothra connects with Godzilla to give him his powers before he does his. At one point in the movie, he just does like a wave of an explosive wave that comes out from his body. I think that's what that's supposed to be, and the other Godzilla is like his charge state with that. And then yeah, that's Ghidorah. But Cobb, you're telling me you didn't want to pay $2,800 for this thing?
No, not even if I was a Godzilla fan, I wouldn't do that. But on top of that, the thing was huge, and there was no way I was getting that home.
Oh, you would have been fine. You would have figured it out.
Like I don't even know that thing would have fit through the train door.
No, not at all.
Let alone down the escalator to get to the train, because those things are fucking narrow as shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, like. There's a lot of stuff like that, like just things where you're just like, that's really cool. That's way too much money for me, but it's really cool to see it. I was a little bummed, like there weren't any like big booth like spectacles like there usually are here and at New York Comic Con. Like the last couple of years, there's been like the big Dragon Ball booths with like statues of the characters, or the last couple times there's been like a giant like inflatable Luffy statues and stuff like that.
Mhm.
The only thing I saw was there was like it was a Gundam and something else at the Bandai booth, but they weren't especially big. They were just like person sized.
Mhm.
So I don't know if it was just companies weren't looking to like put out what it costs to like do those booths. But there also were like there weren't as many of like the big vendors either. Like Bandai had a booth, but like Shonen Jump didn't have anything that I remember seeing. Crunchyroll didn't really have anything. Viz, which is also Shonen Jump. So like it was definitely like the like more smaller vendors for the most part, which like sort of worked out because it was like more places to shop versus just like things showing off like trailers for upcoming content.
It makes you think, because normally New York Anime Fest is what, like, or Anime NYC is like what, a week or two after New York Comic Con? Like, it's like 2 weeks after or something.
It's around a month. Usually New
Yeah.
York Comic Con is the first or second week of October, and Anime NYC is usually like the second to third week of November.
So it makes you wonder, like, this is so much earlier than it's like, it's a month and a half at least minimum. I don't know when.
It's about a month and a half, yeah.
Like, do you think they don't have stuff there because they're somewhere else because of the time frame? And it's like, oh, well, they'll just be there for New York Comic Con.
It's entirely possible. Like I know there was like a fan expo thing this past weekend. I think like Terrific Con was the weekend before. So it's
Dragon
totally
Con is this weekend as well. So like,
oh yeah, so like it could have just been they went for Dragon Con because that is a larger thing
this
in a different
upcoming
area.
weekend, like this weekend coming up, not this past weekend. So
No,
like,
I know what you mean, but like
Yeah.
doing two of those back to back, even especially for like for a booth that's not really selling stuff like a lot of these ones are.
yeah,
Like your big like One Piece booths, like maybe they have some merchandise to sell, but usually it's giveaways and promotional material.
and trying to ship your display from New York to Georgia in less than a week.
Exactly. Like there's a lot of cost for that. So there's the cost for the display and everything. You're paying on both sides for setup and breakdown because you have to have union people in these convention centers do all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Which means like you're hiring a company that can contract those people usually, and then you're also staffing those things. So like that's probably travel for the people that are running the booth that you're paying for. Like there's a lot of cost, and I feel like Dragon Con is big enough that like yeah, that could be the case where some of these were opting for a different demographic in a different part of the country versus two things in New York within a month of each other.
Mm-hmm.
When like in November there's nothing else. Like they can do New York Comic Con and then keep their stuff in New York, and a month later they can just they can do it again.
Yeah.
Like but for like this time of year there's too many. This is like the prime time for that stuff. Like Otakon I think was like a couple weeks ago. San Diego was right before that. There's a bunch of like other ones in like the middle of the country happening. Anime Expo was at the beginning of July. Like this July through like September is like convention season. Like New York Comic Con is kind of like the end of convention season in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that could be possible. I'm not entirely sure why they moved to August from November. I don't know if it was if it had to do with attendance or being able to book the Javits Center. Maybe they were having trouble like getting the weekends they wanted, so they picked a different time of year. Maybe they were trying to get more distance from New York Comic Con. Who knows?
I mean, the only thing is keep an eye on what the Javits Center is doing in mid-November and see.
Yeah,
or
true.
Maybe Javits Center raises prices for rental and they didn't want to pay it, so they decided maybe it's cheaper to rent in the summer.
Like there's all sorts of possibilities there.
Because you said they have a lot bigger space now, so maybe that's what it is. Like it's cheaper to get the bigger space.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because like even before like they kind of had like the full expo hall the whole time. I don't know how much of the rest of the convention center they're really using. Like they have some of the panel rooms downstairs, and they had one other hall they were using for like gaming. But like if something that big is happening at the Javits Center, it's that place is not broken up the way like the the Philadelphia Convention Center is the Pennsylvania Convention Center, the one right in Philadelphia.
Mhm.
Where like you can do like 2 or 3 different shows in that building and have them be pretty much completely disconnected from one another. Like the Javits Center, it's kind of just one big building that like there's only like 2 ways into the building really. And there's only one big expo floor, and then there's like all the weird hallway ones downstairs. So like I don't know that you could really split that and have 2 shows there at the same time. Unless they were 2 very small shows that only needed like the meeting rooms.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm interested to see like how Anime NYC kind of like progresses from there. I feel like even last year, the one thing that they're lacking the most is like interesting panel content. Like looking at like their schedule for the weekend, 90% of their schedule were just cosplay meetups. Like they had a couple of spotlight panel things with like Steve Bloom, who's like the voice of like Spike and Orochimaru and stuff like that. And I think there was also like a big Critical Role panel because the whole Critical Role cast was there.
Yeah.
But like other than that, like I was scrolling through, like there were a few like anime manga industry panels for like Crunchyroll and High Dive and Viz. But then it was just like it wasn't even like the fan panels where like it was people like just talking about stuff that they're into. It was just a lot of like meetups for fandoms and for cosplay and stuff. And I'm like, I mean, I don't want to go to a meetup. Like, I want to go like see a like curated like thing.
Yeah.
So I do hope they kind of like expand on that and maybe make that more of a draw. Or expand like their viewings the way that like Otakon and Katsucon always had, where like at any given time there was at least a couple of things kind of playing that you could just kind of like duck into and watch.
Yeah.
And it might be because this one is more of a like an industry convention versus both of those other ones are more fan run conventions. They do screenings, but it's mostly premieres for things that aren't out yet. So they'll show like the first 2 episodes of like a new season of something, or the first 2 episodes of like a brand new show that's going to be airing with the fall season. And like those are neat, but like it'd also be nice that you could just kind of like wander down to one of the meeting rooms and just go like catch an episode of a show that maybe like you meant to check out from like the previous season or something. And I guess like I don't know, maybe that doesn't have as much of a place anymore. Like I haven't been to an Otakon since like 2010. And Rich, I think even I don't think you've gone since it was in Baltimore, right?
Yeah, I think I went the last year it was in Baltimore or something like that.
Which was like 2013 or 14. So even that's been a while. Like anime is just easier to get now. Like back then, like a lot of times like you would find shows by going to those screenings because there was no other way to like stumble across that stuff unless you were just illegally downloading anything and everything. But now it's just like, oh, you just open up Hulu or Crunchyroll or Netflix and there's a ton of anime you could just like pop on and see if it's any good. And generally it's the stuff that's airing like right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, like that is a fun convention. I don't know that I would ever have like a full weekend there, but like usually like the 2 days is actually really good. Like there's enough stuff to kind of wander around and check out and like foods to try and things that like 2 days of like 11 to like 5, 6 o'clock is usually like a good time.
Yeah.
And generally like it's an anime convention. So like there's also a lot of like pretty cool cosplays.
True.
Gotta love the cosplays.
Yeah. As long as the people don't suck that are doing them.
Yeah, true.
Because sometimes you just have people that like think that because they did like a big, like robust costume that they get some sort of special treatment when it comes to like getting their way. It's like, no, you did it to yourself. Like, fuck you. Like, yes, your thing looks cool, but that doesn't mean you can just like stand in the middle of an aisle not doing anything because you needed a break. Like, fucking get off the show floor and sit down. You're just causing traffic congestion. But yeah, Anime NYC, definitely worth checking out if you haven't been before. And like even with 100,000 people throughout the weekend, like it was not even remotely as crowded as New York Comic Con is. And like they don't have as many places to go as you have when you go to New York Comic Con. Like there's less panels. There's Artist Alley isn't in a separate part of the convention center. Like everything's just right there. And even autographs are on that main expo floor. And it wasn't until like midday where like parts of the floor were a little too congested to easily get through. But it was never that like New York Comic Con where you just were standing there for 5 minutes because you literally couldn't move forward because there were too many people. And And I like that. I don't like being stuck just standing there when you can't even see what's at the booths that you're standing next to.
Yeah.
But enough about that. Rich, what's
Yeah.
Escape the Backrooms?
All right. So, do you guys know what the backrooms are?
Nope.
So it's this liminal space thing online that people are all crazy about. It's you'll see a lot of like old school style, like VHS style recorded video of like people in in these just open areas or liminal spaces. What a liminal space is, just like a unpopulated area that's generally populated, like an office building or a mall or whatever. It started off, I don't really know the origin of it, but it started off with like these people in this what looks like to be an office like suite, but it's yellow and it's continuous, and every corner you turn opens up into more corners to turn, into more ways to go, into more open space. And there's these like creatures there that want to attack, kind of like Slender Man stuff. And like the story is that there's like 99 floors as part of the back rooms, and there's different creatures and monsters and things throughout each of the floors, and different things on the floors themselves. Or it's like 999. I can't remember if I said 999 or just 99. And it's kind of endless, and there's like an organization, I guess, that runs them, and people get stuck in them, and like this is a legit like internet community that has a bunch of stories and tales about it, and games and fanfic and whatnot, all across the internet. And so for Spooky Night for stream, I'd finished all the spooky games I'd been playing, so I decided this one was on sale. It was like $2 or $3. I decided to play Escape the Backrooms, which is just you going through a number of the back rooms, encountering some of the creatures that you encounter that you may encounter while going through them. And like I was expecting spooky, but this game like didn't really deliver on the spook. It did deliver on like, if you are a fan of the backrooms stuff, you'd probably really enjoy this. But like there wasn't a lot of direct horror in my opinion. There were some frustrating sequences, to be honest. Like one of the areas you go into is this underground area that like you get a flashlight, and if you flash your light on the creature, they like get a little blinded. And in the game mechanics, if you flash your light on the creature 3 times, they then run away. So I figured that out immediately, and as soon as I flash my light on the enemy 3 times, they run away, and it's like, all right, well, now this isn't scary because I hear the thing and I just hold my flashlight to it, and after it reacts 3 times, it runs away, and I don't have to worry about it now. So then it's just making your way through the hall to clear the objective, to get back up, to go into this building that's like it's like maybe like a parking garage, but the lights flicker on and off, and when it's dark, you see these faces that come at you, and if they catch you, they kill you, and you barely have enough time to go from point A to point B when it turns dark, and you have to rush and hurry up and get through it. And like there's just different scenarios like that where you're just trying to get out of the room that you're in into the next room of the backrooms. And it's just trying to solve the backrooms puzzles. And it's interesting. It's not as scary as I thought it was going to be. And I was hoping for a little bit more scary, a little bit like jump scares. The game is also multiplayer. It's 1 to 4 players. So I don't know if maybe it might have been a little bit more scary if I did co-op. But like, I don't really think I don't see a reason to play this game more than once, because once you beat it the first time, you're gonna know how to beat it. And like even one of the rooms I got stuck in, which was this, you ride an elevator up and you get stuck in basically a hotel room, or not a hotel room, but like a hotel hallway lobby area, and you come out of the elevator and there's like maybe not even hotel, but I guess kind of hotel there, but there's like mailboxes on the ground, and you have to look at the mailboxes, see which ones are open, and then you have to go to those room numbers, go in there, and there's like there's like cards that you have to grab from them, put them in the mailboxes, and it'll tell you something basic. Like when you put them all in, it'll tell you you look up, and oh, there's the code that you need in order to get out of the floor to get to the next floor. But like I got most of them. I got LOKP. I'm like, oh, it's gonna say look up, and I look up and it's not there. So you need all of them in order to do it. Luckily,
That's a little bit of a bummer.
it's annoying because like the layout is always the same, but it does get a little confusing. And there are creatures. They're basically mimics that will like they look like players. So if you're playing with your friends, you might think that it's a player character and not like a mimic. But there's a tell. Like they always say, "Hey, hey, come here." And if you see them, then they turn into the actual monster they are. And so like you have to avoid them from getting you while trying to get all the cards. If you die after you put cards into the mailbox, those cards stay there, which is nice. But then you still have to go through the room and get everything. And if you die, you lose all the items you had. So if you were there with a bunch of items that might help you out, well, now you don't have any more items, which kind of sucked. So like it like a lot of the puzzles, a lot of trying to get out of things wasn't necessarily hard or scary. It was just tedious and frustrating because it was like, all right, well, I know where, like in that instance, I'm like, oh, well, I know where this door is. So I guess I just have to go find that door again and hope not to get caught by the dog creature or the mimic creature or whatever. People that were watching me were telling me like later levels get a lot scarier, or there's a different Backrooms game that if I was looking for very scary, I should try. Which was I think it was Inside the Backrooms, maybe, or Backrooms Escape Together. No, it's probably not Backrooms Escape Together. Maybe it was Inside the Backrooms or something like that. Well, like maybe I'll give it a shot in the future. But I didn't even beat Escape the Backrooms yet. To be also candid, I got this game because a friend of mine that I haven't been able to game with for a long time loves the Backrooms, and I was like, well, maybe this is a chance for us to be able to game together for a bit. And they weren't able to join as well, so it was like, oh, that sucks. But maybe we'll still be able to do it later on. But yeah, it's interesting. Like
It sounds it.
if I were into the Backrooms more, maybe I would be a little bit more into some of these levels. But since I'm not really, it's not that I'm not into the Backrooms, I just don't know the Backrooms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not really like
I've never heard of it till now.
Yeah, like when I get to a floor, I'm not like, oh, I know this floor, I know what these creatures are. And like the game also gives you hints as to like what to do or what you need to fight or what you need to find or like how to stop a creature here or there. And like one of the last levels I did it was like the fun room. It was like basically it was decorated like a 90s arcade. It had the carpet of a 90s arcade carpet or a 90s like bowling alley carpet. And you had to sneak past all of the enemies. And if you accidentally like get too close to them, or if you're not crouching, they'll chase after you. If you crouch under a table, they'll turn around because they can't find you. That level took me so many tries because that level, in my opinion, was the worst because as many tries it took me, there were times where I'm like, there's no way an enemy can see me, and they still see me somehow. And I had to hold control the entire time I was in those levels, which hurt my fucking finger.
That does sound annoying.
Like, if I could toggle control to crouch, I would have been fine with it, but no, I had to hold it. But yeah, it was alright. I mean, let's see. $10 on Steam, I got it on sale. It's not expensive at all. If you're into this liminal space kind of stuff, which like it's cool to like dive into, then definitely check it out. But if you're not into it, you're not going to like it. There was another level that was annoying because you get like there are moths that will chase after you, and if you run past a crank, you can turn it and it'll spray out basically bug spray, and the moths will stop chasing after you. But like every time I ran past the crank to hit the button to pull the crank, I would miss, and then the moth would continue to get me. So then if you die, like I said, if you die, you lose all the items you go into. The game has a sanity mechanic, so the more you see the monsters, the closer you are to the monsters, the more you see them, the lower your sanity gets, and if your sanity empties out, you have to restart, you die. Well, if you die, you lose all your items. And if the game's not giving you items, you can't restore your sanity. So I actually got stuck. Like, I got to a point in a level where luckily I got a checkpoint. If I had not gotten that checkpoint, I would have given up then and there because I ran out of sanity and had to restart. And it's like, well, if you're gonna take away my items and then put me in an incredibly confusing maze that I still don't understand how I got out of there, like it was so confusing, so hard to figure out. If you're gonna put me into this space, you have to give me items so I don't just die automatically.
Yeah, that sounds like I would be very frustrated trying to do something like that.
Yeah, but it's cool. I will potentially. I mean, right now my subs are the lowest they've been in a long time. I don't know if I'm going to get 10 subs this month, so I probably won't be doing a spooky next month. And then the month after is all spooky, so I won't be playing this next month unless I beat all my alien horror games. So probably at the earliest, I won't be playing this again until November. But we'll see. But it's interesting. If you like this kind of stuff, you'll definitely like it. And they update it free. They add new levels every once in a while, it seems.
Okay.
So that's another cool thing. $10. It's early access on Steam. $10 and you get free levels every time you jump into it. So
nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
But Cobb, how was your musical RPG?
It's pretty cool. Not a whole lot of RPG though. It's more visual novel.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys know what Stray Gods is?
I do. I don't.
So Drew, it is a musical visual novel.
Okay.
You're playing, and it's got a lot of notable voice actors in it. You're playing a girl who is just kind of like an average, like 20-something that has no idea what she wants to do with her life. Drops out of college, is in a band, but like doesn't know if like the band is even right for her. Gets into a weird situation where she ends up being around when the last muse is murdered, and ends up by being that person also gets her powers. So because of that, her powers tend to make people sing when dealing with conflict. So as you're playing the game, all of the like dialogue stuff that you would normally do like in a visual novel style game becomes musical numbers. And you early on you get asked like basically what sort of attitude you want the character to have, and it's like aggressive, charming, or subtle or something like that. And one of them gives you more of like a jazzy themed musical thing. Another one is a little bit more like classical poppy sort of stuff. And then the aggressive one is more like punk rockish. I ended up picking aggressive before I even realized that. Just I thought it was just like a one-time how was I going to like interact with stuff, but it actually like that is what I have for the game, which is fine. But it's fun because like as you're going through this, you're picking your dialogue choices, and it is impacting the way that the characters are singing their songs. Because you're not telling like characters what to sing, but you're reacting to what they're singing, and then they're like singing something in reaction to that. And there's also a murder mystery, so you're trying to discover who the killer of this muse was before the rest of the gods execute you, because as far as they know, you're the one that killed her. So yeah. Richie muted himself, which seems weird.
Yeah, I mean that does sound interesting.
Yeah. And honestly, like you enjoy musicals, you might like it, but also like I don't know how you feel about like the visual novel style of gameplay.
I haven't really played many, so I can't say really either way.
Yeah, I mean like the downside to them is like there's not a lot of like gameplay elements.
Right.
But generally like the stories are fun if it's a story that you're interested in. And this one being like kind of wrapped around Greek gods, but in the modern day, and then basically trying to deal with still existing in a modern world that doesn't really need or care about them. Mm-hmm. Like it's alluded that Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon, who are like the big three Greek gods, are all like either dead or in hiding or something like that. So the like core ones that you're initially introduced to are Athena, Apollo, Persephone, who's not even a god, and Aphrodite.
Okay.
And I forget what they call themselves, but like them along with this muse were like this group. the choir maybe, or the chorus they might have called themselves. I think it was the chorus. And yeah, like they're basically judging you on it. But like as far as like the voice cast goes, you've got your main character that you're playing as is Laura Bailey. Apollo is Troy Baker. The muse who died early on was Ashley Johnson. Pan, like the satyr from Greek mythology, is I just forgot his name. Like it was on the tip of my tongue. Rich, are you back?
Yeah.
The guy that played Ezekiel in The Walking Dead. He was also on a couple of things.
Harry Payne.
Yeah, he plays Pan.
Or Harry Payne.
Yeah. That guy was like his portrayal of Pan was fun. I don't know. I just like the way that he like portrays things. So yeah, just a lot of like notable voice actors and actors in a lot of cases too. And like all of them can sing to some degree, which is nice. Because I have to imagine this game would be a lot harder to deal with if some of them just couldn't carry a fucking tune.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely recommend checking it out if you like the visual novel style of games. If you don't, just stay away because like the musical side is not enough to get you through like a style of game that is just not for everybody. Yeah.
I'm going through some of the Steam reviews, and I haven't seen a lot of thumbs down, but this one makes me laugh. 24 minutes was all I could stomach. I like musicals and I like RPGs, so I thought I'd like this, but it's just a fancy visual novel. There isn't any actual gameplay. Music was like it came from a high school play, and they made Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, look like Lizzo. I now need to see Aphrodite in this.
I don't know who Lizzo is, so I can't comment.
You watched Mandalorian?
Yes.
The most recent season?
Yes, I don't remember much
Jack
of it.
Black?
Jack Black was in that?
Yeah.
I don't remember that at all.
There was the girl who stood next to Jack Black.
I legitimately don't remember Jack Black in that at all.
Okay,
I didn't like the last season of The Mandalorian all that much.
This person's just being ridiculous. So Aphrodite is, I guess, a thicker woman in this. Yeah. No, like this. I'm not trying to be offensive to Lizzo, but this woman isn't Lizzo. Who's Aphrodite? Like Lizzo is a much thicker woman than this version of Aphrodite. This person's just being dramatic because it's a thick black woman.
Yeah, which like so far I have had very little interactions with her, so I don't even know what the character is necessarily like. But
and also nowhere does it actually say it's an RPG. Interactive fiction, story-rich female protagonist. Those are the tags on Steam.
Yeah.
Nowhere does it say it's an RPG.
But the name of the game is literally Stray Gods, the role-playing musical.
Yeah, RPM, not RPG.
Okay, yeah, you know what, that's fair. But also, like, it doesn't really have... I wouldn't consider this any role-playing. Like, it's a visual novel. Like, it is telling a story. You're just simply picking the dialogue options that you want to have happen.
You pick the role of how your character is going to be reacting and acting.
Yeah, but I don't know. To me, like, visual novels and role-playing are two different things.
Yeah, I can see it.
And like, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that's a problem. Like, I like visual novels when they're done well. Like, they can be fun games. Things like Danganronpa and Phoenix Wright or the Ace Attorney stuff. Like, those are visual novels. They're fun. This one is also a visual novel, and so far has been fun. And like, frankly, it's kind of a cool concept. Like, tons of games have music. Tons of games have good music. Very rarely, outside of actual like rhythm games, does the music actually have any fucking impact on your experience playing. Like, you can play a game muted and have the same experience.
So somebody's complaining because you can't skip the songs. You know, like the main part of the game.
Yeah, that is literally the game. Like, because like the when you're picking dialogue choices in the songs, they are also time based. Like, you can turn that off so that you don't have to hit it in like a certain period of time. But like, just like when you're playing like Mass Effect and you have like those more critical choices to make, you have a limited amount of time to make them, so that you're not just sitting there like, oh well, I wonder which one will give me the outcome I want. Mm-hmm. Like, I hate people. People just shouldn't be allowed to leave reviews on things. That's my...
No, I feel like people should be allowed to leave reviews on things.
I mean, they should, because they are actually super useful. But people like that are just fucking stupid should just be banned from the internet.
But that's the thing. It gets to it shows us who the stupid people are.
I guess that's true. But let's just ban the stupid people from everything. We'll just shoot them into the sun. That's a thing we can do, right?
I think so.
Cool. But yeah, I really like this game. I'm looking forward to playing some more of it. The only kind of downside is like playing on the Steam Deck. Like the Steam Deck doesn't have the best speakers, so like you do kind of have to use headphones if you're doing that. So it would probably be better if you got it either on a console where you're just playing on TV or playing it like directly on PC. It does have like regular controller support, so it's not like you have to. If you're playing on PC, you don't have to use mouse and keyboard if you don't want to.
Yeah.
But yeah, fun game. Give it a shot. It was like a Humble Bundle thing last month or the month before. But it had kind of been on my radar for a while, and then I got it with Humble Bundle, and I'm just like, oh, well, now's the perfect time to give it a shot.
Yeah, that's been a game that's been on my radar. I just because I and anytime I think about playing the game, I'm like, can I make content out of it? And I can't. I can't really do content with this game. I don't think it would be. It might not necessarily be that fun of a stream game to watch. So I'm like, I'll wait until it's on a really good sale to play it by myself or experience it by myself, and then see how it goes.
I think in the right setup, you could probably have fun with it as a stream game. I think the only thing would be that you would have to go in there and turn off the time limits. This way, you could interact with chat while you're doing it.
No, I mean it would. See, if you have to mess with that too much, mess with how the game plays, and like in my opinion, if it's the time limits of picking the next dialogue in the middle of a song, you're going to be cutting the song off if you cut it too long. So you kind of just got to go.
That's fair. I was more just thinking, like, depending on like the situation you were playing it on stream. If you had if you had engagement going on, like if there was somebody watching it that was actually interested in the game, you could actually like do like crowd participation essentially.
Yeah.
But also like it's totally fine to just play that by yourself. It's not like from what I saw, it's not a super long game, and you can kind of just play like little bits of it at a time. Like at least so far, it seems to be very generous with saving because there's not just like a manual save that I have seen so far.
Yeah.
But it's fun nonetheless. Definitely recommend checking it out. And then, Rich, to wrap things up, you finally finished the Star Ocean Second Story R.
I wouldn't say finally when it comes to Star Ocean Second Story R, because I've only been playing it since the beginning of August.
Why do I feel like you started that longer ago?
No, I mean, I might have. I started it shortly after I started, or shortly after, I think it was like, it might have been the last week of July. Like, I don't, like, but then there was a lot of, like, downtime between playing it. Like, I didn't actually play it straight through every weekend. It only took me about 25 hours, 30 hours, something like that. Also, I started it on a Sunday, and then I moved it to Monday, Tuesday, and put Monster Hunter back on Sunday. So like I wasn't doing long streams with it. But yeah, I did beat Star Ocean Second Story R. I love the art. I love like the update that they did to like the whole overworld is like new is like updated graphics, and then the character art is just their original sprites. The music's fantastic. The storyline, in my opinion, is whatever. It's fantasy sci-fi storyline. The story is person gets sent to planet, accidentally gets sent to a planet and gets stranded there. This fantasy style planet, old-timey planet, there's a thing that's causing them trouble that they think is like a mysterious rock. It actually happens to be future tech that they don't understand. So then they have to go there and go there and fight it. You then have to go all around the world just to go to one point in the world, because every time you try to get to this point in the world, something happens and you have to go somewhere else. And then you get shoved off to another planet that's more advanced and not fantasy based, and you have to fight the bad guys. Like, that's really the gist of the story. But like when it comes to Star Ocean, it's more about like there's the overall story and then there's the personal story. When it's Star Oceans, you pick a protagonist. And I think it's generally always the local or the alien, basically. And you get their sides of their story. So there's a little bit of personal story for each character. That's where, like, you know, How Long to Beat has completionist at like 70 hours, and that's because you have to play the game entirely a second time just to know the full side of the story and get all the achievements for the other character that you didn't play as. But you don't need to play as the other character. You can just get your one side of the story, and it's absolutely fine and a complete story.
Oh, that's not bad. That like they don't like kind of like silo things off so that it's not fulfilling.
Yeah. So it's like there's just like would I like to know a little bit more about Reyna's past? Sure. Would I like to know a little bit more about what Reyna did whenever I was running around without her? Maybe, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. I don't need to know. In the end, the characters get together like you expected the entire time. And at the end of the movie, at the end of the game, Reyna's pregnant. But there's like 6 months in between the end of the game and the actual finale. So, I mean, it makes it a little less weird that maybe she's now 18 and he's 19, but I think she was 17 throughout the game, so I don't really know. I think she's 17 and he's 19. It was a little weird, but not as weird as Precious, who's 16 and he's 19, and she's pining over him. And you can actually romance her. That was awkward. I did that by complete accident. Like, I wasn't even trying to specifically romance anybody. No, like, I was just... So in this game, in Second Story, you can hit X and you can go into personal actions. And you go into it and you find whoever it is that you can have a personal story beat with, and you can talk with that person and build a relationship. And I guess at one or two instances, like, I was like, you know what? They're really pushing Reyna and Claude together. Let me just go for Reyna. It just makes sense. So I guess at one or two times during these personal actions, I answered wrong, and my relationship went a little low, didn't go up as high as if I answered the right way. And then with Precious, I answered the right way to keep raising my relationship. So as you're going to the final fight, there's like a scene on the beach, and it's Claude or whoever your main character is, and then whoever it is that you accidentally or purposely or chose to romance comes down, and they have a little scene. And Precious was like, "I'm gonna give you my first kiss," and she kisses him. And I'm like, "This is awkward. I didn't mean to do this at all. She's 16. This is weird."
You sure are talking yourself around this thing that you did.
It was completely and utterly, I did not mean to do this. This was like, oops. And I know what scene it was that didn't have my relationship as high with Reyna. It was just before this scene where I go to the end of the game, where you walk up and Reyna is with a what's it called? With a fortune teller, and the fortune teller is telling her all about Claude. And at the end of it, she turns around, she's like, "Oh, Claude, how long have you been there?" And I didn't want to embarrass her, so I was like, "I just got here." But I did hear the whole conversation. And Claude's a bad liar. And she's like, "Oh, you're such a bad liar. Why do you lie? You make me so mad." And she runs off. Boom. Relationship lost right there. Right there. Boom. That's what caused me. Instead of just saying, "I was here the whole time and I heard the whole thing about you asking this person about whether or not me and you are going to get together." The game is very easy to accidentally exploit and become overpowered. And I did.
Is it like set up where you just get overpowered kind of easily?
No. There's ways to get a lot of experience, and then there's ways to get even more experience.
Well, because like you remember in like Final Fantasy 15, it was incredibly easy to overpower yourself because there were like a couple of inns that got you like 3 times the bonus, and you only actually took your XP when you went to an inn. So, like, at a certain point in the game, you could just go kind of, like, grind XP, go to that one inn that was, like, 4 times, and get, like, 5 levels every time?
Vaguely. The way this game works is the combat system is really cool. It's like the Tales of games. It's like I guess all Star Ocean games are like this, where you get a battle map, you can move your character around, you can do attacks, and your B is your general attack, your bumpers are your specials. And then you can use the directional pads to summon in players that aren't on the field, or characters that aren't on the field. As you defeat enemies, if you can break their shields before killing them, or if you can, basically if you can break their shields before killing them and then kill them while their shields are broken, you get a bonus number of bonus orbs. If you can just kill them, you just get like 3 or 4. But if you can break their shields and then kill them, you get like 20 or something. If you can set up your battle tactics or formation or something like that, I can't remember, to have one of X number of abilities. So the one I used for most of the game was increased experience at first level, increased experience at second level, and increased money at third level or something like that. Or it might have been experience, money, experience or something. I don't remember. So you have that every fight. Once you get your bonus gauge to level 1, you're getting 25% more experience with every fight. If you can get your bonus gauge to the highest level, I think it's maybe as high as 50. I don't really remember. Then you can also chain fights. You can have up to 5 enemies fight you at a time. And you go into each fight consecutively. With each fight, you gain a multiplier to your experience. So if you get 5 enemies to fight you with this plus 50% experience, you're already getting 2 to 3 times more experience at the 5th fight, plus the 50% on top of that.
Oh, okay.
So you can easily grind out levels to where when you get to a certain point, the enemies will pop on the ground. Usually, like, red means they're really difficult, purple means they're normal and you should be fine, and then green means they're easy. You're overpowered. Once they're green, you actually unlock an ability where the characters that are running around on the map with you can just go fight them themselves and kill them. And you gain most of the experience for that fight. So then you're leveling up just by running around, really.
Okay.
So it is very easy to accidentally overpower yourself to the point where I think I streamed for 4 hours. For the first 2.5, I didn't get into a single unnecessary fight. There was 2 fights I had to get into. Besides that, my NPCs were getting into the rest of the fights. So, and then there's also, for Claude at least, you can get his ultimate weapon super early in the game if you do the right things, which is you go talk to a guy, he gives you a weapon, you then have to craft with that weapon that he gives you with maybe mithril, I think, and then craft that weapon that you made with another mithril. The best way to do that, to make sure you get the right weapon, is to be at level 10, and it's 100% proper crafting. Otherwise, you have to save scum it. You have to save before you do it, and if you fail, reload, fail, reload. Which I didn't have it at level 10 customization, so I just save scummed it, got the weapon, which is incredibly powerful. I think it put my attack power at like 4,000 or something like that. No, like 3,000 maybe. And like it steals items off of enemies. It attacks multiple times with each hit, and it's very strong. And then at one point in the game, you get an amulet of power that doubles your attack power. So I put that on, and then you can also unlock abilities that will make you stronger in general. It will let you break the damage cap, because I was doing 9999 damage with pretty much every hit, to a point where I was like doing 20,000 damage with each hit. I'm like, man, this game's now super easy. I don't have to do anything. I can face roll most things until I got to the final bosses.
Was it one of those, like the final boss was just so much harder than everything around it?
It wasn't that he was so much harder. It was so there are abilities in this game that take, like, when you it takes time to cast, and once you cast it, it's like a summon. It's like a full-on cutscene of attacks. And this boss, he kept spamming that ability over and over and over, to the point where he hit me twice with it, took me all the way down to 0 HP, killed Claude, killed one other character. I used an item to bring Claude back. Reyna used her healing to bring the other character back. But by the time they were both back and ready to attack, he uses his ability again. Cuts out the cutscene, so it stops all attacks that are happening. He then moves away. I have to then go chase after him. He's faster than me. By the time I get to him, he spams the ability again. And that was like my biggest complaint about the game, is like some of the characters just spam their strongest attack. And it's constantly cutscenes. Luckily, in this one,
that would actually drive me insane too. Like,
luckily,
great, you want to use the strong attack, but like, why does that have to be a cutscene every time?
luckily you can skip most of the cutscene. Like you can hit start and it'll skip the whole cutscene and it'll just do the effects of the attack. But it's still a long time because you have to start casting the attack, load the cutscene, then hit start, then load. Like it still takes like 3 seconds per attack and you can't do anything during it. You can't be fighting the enemy while they're casting it. Everything freezes. And when they spam it over and over and over, and all you're doing is healing, and you can't constantly use items. You can use one item, and then a timer counts down, and then you can use the next item, and then the counter counts down. Like I almost lost in the final fight because of I couldn't attack. That was it. It wasn't that it was hard. It wasn't that the enemy was overpowered. He just kept spamming his strongest attacks, and that was frustrating.
So, out of curiosity, when they do that, because you said like a cutscene basically happens every time.
Mm-hmm.
Does that like if you queued up an attack, does that like then fuck up your attack from happening?
100%. It's because you then react to being hurt.
Okay, so it it basically interrupts your ability to like cast something.
And you're supposed to be like if somebody's casting, if an enemy is casting, and you hit them enough, you can break their cast. However, every enemy is faster than you, and it takes you forever to catch up to the enemy if they run off to the other side of the screen, so that by the time you reach them, their casting is finished. It was so frustrating. Maybe if I like wasn't using 3 melee users and was using like a mage and 2 melee users and my healer, maybe it would have been different. Maybe my mage could have been able to attack them more to break them and to break their casting. But I don't know. It was frustrating.
I mean, it sounds it. I feel like how old is the original of this? Do you know?
90s. It was a PlayStation 1 game.
Okay, I thought it was 90s, but I like Star Ocean's one of those weird ones that has just it kind of like resurfaces every so often with like new versions on each generation.
Yeah.
I feel like 90s and early 2000s RPGs had that like shitty difficulty curve too, where like you could get to the end boss fine, but then you get to that like final section of end bosses, and all of a sudden it's just like, no, you are not nearly powerful enough for this shit. You need to not get experience from anything else in the game to be at a level where you can handle the final bosses.
Correction, although 90s, it was almost a 2000s game. It was a 98 game.
Oh, 98.
Yeah. Yeah, like it didn't feel like it had that ramp up in difficulty. I was overpowered. It just like RNG just wasn't in it for me, and that tends to happen with me with some of these games. RNG just doesn't work well for me, and I just get stuck in these loops of I have to heal, I have to heal, I have to heal. I can't attack. My character's dead. My other character's dead. I don't have enough. There's too much time between items. I can't use another item. Like it's an endless cycle. It's an endless loop of I can't hit them because they're spamming their strongest attacks.
Yeah, I had that happen in Final Fantasy VI. There's a section in the second half of the game where you have an enemy where it's a split battle, or split battlefield. So the enemy's in the middle, and you have 2 characters on one side, 1 character on the other, and the enemies are like these 3 tentacle things that grab you and then siphon your life. And when they've grabbed you, you can't attack. Mm-hmm. And you also can't attack the things, like attacking the ones that have grabbed somebody also doesn't cause them to drop them sooner. So it took me like 3 tries only because RNG was bad, and all they were doing was picking all of my characters up on their turns, siphoning them, and then immediately picking them up again. So like I never had time to attack because I was just trying to heal everybody as soon as they got down, and then was immediately picked back up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's scenarios like that they're frustrating. And then again, I had the same complaint when I played Divine Force last year. This game has a crafting system in it, which all right, that's cool. Crafting, you get supplies, you craft a thing. But the way crafting works in Star Oceans is it's random. So you can have 10 of an item, and you can use those 10 of an item to craft things, and you can't tell it, hey, I want to craft 10 of this specific thing. No, it's, you got 10 things, here's a list of 5 things that you could craft from these 10. Let's see what you get. And so I ended up like I didn't really do a lot of crafting because I'm like I don't see a point in wasting the time to craft. I don't know what I'm getting. I don't know if I'm wasting materials to be able to craft this item. Like I want to make stronger weapons, and I'm sure I could get some stronger weapons than what I had, but I can't. I don't want to waste the time if I don't want to have to save scum. If there's limited of an item and I can't craft the thing that I want to craft that's going to be the strongest, then I'm going to have to reload it. And I don't want to have to do that shit. I don't find that entertaining. Like, let me get together the materials and craft the specific thing I'm trying to craft. My other issue is a lot of the strongest weapons in the game are weapons you can't get until after you beat the game. And then you go back to like basically the equivalent of the gold saucer and you do its battle arena after you beat the game. I'm like, what is the point of getting stronger after I beat this fucking RPG? There's no point. There's a new game plus, but like I'm level 101 for my main character. Do I really need to level up anymore?
Yes. Yes, you do.
It was just there's some silly stuff. Like it had some cool mechanics to it. It had some cool mechanics to the game, but it's just like I'm happy that I played it, but there was just some silly choices when it comes to this game that like, all right, it's a late 90s game. Like these were choices that people made back then because they were trying to put replayability in games, and there weren't as many games available that people were going to put this much time into.
Which, like, yes, like, and I feel like those older ones they lasted so long, always. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah. I mean, I remember liking the Gold Saucer in Final Fantasy VII, but also the Gold Saucer in Rebirth versus the Gold Saucer in original Final Fantasy VII, two completely different things. But like, I remember wanting to like keep doing more stuff, but it's also like
you were 13 and you had an entire summer vacation to do nothing but dump hours and hours into it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I could spend a whole night just playing one single game, go to bed at 3:00 in the morning, wake up at noon, and then start playing games again for 2 weeks straight, and it was fine. Like now it's like I want to do everything. I have this push to do everything, but it's also even back then, if it's not good content, I was still happy to do it just to do it. Now, if it's not good content, it makes me mad, and I still do it anyway. But like with a game like Star Ocean, even with Divine Force, I wasn't pushed to do any of the end game stuff or any of the add-on, any of like the bonus stuff, because like even with Tales of Arise, like all of it was post-game content. You do this after you beat the game to get stronger. But I do not see a point in that. I do not see a point in getting stronger after I beat the game. It doesn't add more to the game. But apparently there's like 99 different endings you can get for this game. So maybe there is a reason to get... But it's like... What it is it's based on the character selection. So maybe there's a total of like... I don't know. I'm just going to... Maybe there's like 15 total characters you can have. Like total that you can get throughout the game, but you can only get like 8 at a time. So once you reach the cap of characters, then you can't bring any more playable characters into your fold. So like some of the endings are just relationship endings based on the characters you have. So
okay, yeah.
At the end of the game, like you always have Claude and Reyna. So at the end of the game, it's always going to be Claude and Reyna are pregnant, probably. But
unless you pair up with the 16-year-old.
No, see, that's the thing. I paired up with Precious by accident. We had our first kiss, and then because I had Ashton on my team and Ashton and Precious, those two paired up for their ending, and they were together. And then two of my other characters were together. One of my other character went off on their own, and stuff like that. So, like, it's a lot of what they consider an ending is like a character story ending, I guess. So that's why it's like there's 99, but that's probably the combination of different characters. I don't know if like clearing some of the bosses changes. Like there's special hidden bosses. Not hidden. They're out in the overworld, but they're just very difficult bosses that like I don't know if fighting them will change anything. Probably not.
Probably like they're all bonus content, really.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
They're just like, oh, you finished the game, like go try these harder experiences.
Yeah, and it was the same with Chrono Trigger, the remake of Chrono Trigger, when it was like the version I played a few years ago. Like that's the same thing. Like they have like this bonus dungeon that you can go into. It does nothing for the story. It's just an extra dungeon you can go into that you can only enter after you beat the game.
I actually don't think I realized that.
Mhm.
Is that the version that's on Steam?
Yeah.
Oh, huh. I think I actually own that. I did not know there was anything that was like unique to it.
Yeah. Well, it was. I mean, it's not unique to that version. It's unique to the remake.
Well, that's what I mean, like to the remake of the game, which
I mean, that version is like a port of a remake.
Oh, I thought the remake. Oh no, that's Final Fantasy that had all those like remakes done. I think the Chrono Trigger one might be the DS remake
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
or remaster, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
Huh? Man, Chrono Trigger's a weird game.
they are. The Chrono games are wild.
Yeah.
Anything
else about Star Ocean though?
No, it was good. I'm glad I was able to beat it.
Do you have your next 50-hour RPG lined up?
No. Right now I'm not really trying to get into anything. So this next week of streams is just going to probably be mostly Monster Hunter, just to chill. Like I'm at the point of Monster Hunter World where I kind of have to grind out a bit, because it's like I just reached endgame. But to unlock the monsters, to continue to unlock the monsters, you kind of just have to grind to get to a certain point, because since they released them as time went on, you need to get to these milestones that they want you to reach that you would have gotten to if you had continued to play it when it first came out. So I'm like over the next few streams, Saturday, Sunday, or Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday next week will be that, and then probably in 2 weeks. After I come back from the wedding I'm going to next weekend, we'll start Resident Evil Remake on hardcore mode. See how long that takes me to beat.
How long did it take you to beat last year when you were just playing regular? Didn't you do that one in a single stream?
I did both stories technically in a single stream. Yeah, so
that's what I thought. But
total 6.5 hours.
Yeah, because I know a couple
Maybe
of them like tripped you up a little bit. Like I think it was Zero you had some trouble with just because of like a mistake.
Resident Evil 0, I had to restart because I was in an unwinnable situation. And then after restarting, I was able to beat the game in one session, I think. Resident Evil 1, I think, took me maybe 2 sessions. Resident Evil 2 Remake took me 1 session per story. So like you have to get the full story, and this is how I'm going to do with this playthrough. You have to play both characters. And it's not really a new game plus. It's like you play scenario A with Jill or scenario A with Leon, and then you do scenario B with Claire, not Jill, with Claire, and then or scenario B with Leon, depending on who you started with. And then it has a post credits thing that you have to do to defeat William. Resident Evil 3, I think, was 1 playthrough. Resident Evil 4 was 2. 5 and 6 were like 2 or 3, maybe each, and then 7 was like 1 or 2, and then 8 was like a few. Plus then the DLC, which was a few days after.
Nice. Well, good job on that one then. A year ago,
but that was 2 years ago.
Wait, was that not just last year?
No, last year was Dead October.
Right. Jesus.
Every game I played had Dead in the title. But Left 4 Dead, I got doxxed while playing Left 4 Dead the second week into doing it, and because it was supposed to be every Tuesday we were going to be doing Left 4 Dead, and I got doxxed the second Tuesday, so I stopped playing Left 4 Dead, and I finished Dead Island and hated Dead Island Riptide, and I never got Dead Island 2 because it was reviewing terribly, so I did Walking Dead Season 1, Telltales. And then I did Walking Dead 100 Days or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
And then I was like kind of done with the Walking Dead games. I was like, I'm done with this theme because I can't do the Walking Dead games anymore. I'm bored. I'm tired.
I mean, the first one was really the good one anyway.
I mean, I never played the second or third one. But it was just like it's can't really pull content out of those. They're kind of boring to watch. So, and I was just getting bored playing them. So I was like, I don't like the Dead Island 2 or Dead Island Riptide. I'll play I'll play Dead by Daylight a few times, I guess. And then ended the month early, I think.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah. This year is Alien horror game, so it'll be Alien Isolation, Callisto Protocol, and Dead Space Remake. And depending on how far I get in, so I'm not like I have to beat them all. It's just one after the other until the end of the month. If I don't get through whichever one I'm on when the end of the month happens, I will beat that one, and I won't push for the next one unless, well, yeah, I'm not going to push to beat the next one. Like, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
We'll probably also be taking a break from Sea of Thieves a few times that month to play some Dead by Daylight or other horror game with my Thursday crew, because we're basically done the season pass, and the season goes through October. So we don't really need to do anything else for the season. We're almost at level cap with the season. So it's like, all right, we don't have to rush to do this, so we can take a break for that. So we're doing some Dead by Daylight, maybe some customs. But yeah, nothing big besides Resident Evil and another attempt at Mega Man X8. Because I still have to pay you guys back for the 1 year anniversaries. But I wanted to get through Star Ocean by the end of August, so that I had a month of just whatever the fuck I want to play, nothing structured, so that when October comes, I wasn't like a little burnt out.
I mean, that's understandable. But I think that'll probably do it for this week.
Yeah, it's a show.
Yep.
Well, if you would like to find more of our content, you can head over to www.one-quest.com. You can also help us out by supporting us at patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us here with your dollars, though, you can go to your favorite podcast platform, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, or YouTube, not Google Podcasts, Spotify, rate us, review us, subscribe to us. Everything helps. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/onequestonline or at @1_quest on Instagram and Twitter. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/onequestvideo. And you can always send us an email to social@one-quest.com. And then, Rich, what days are you streaming?
Twitch.tv/B_Walnuts, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sundays. Monster Hunter primarily right now, and Sea of Thieves. But, like, whatever I feel like playing. Monster Hunter's always open lobbies, so you guys can come join me.
No thanks.
Just saying.
But anybody else can.
You too.
Not a chance in hell. I think I speak for Drew when I say that too.
I'm saying you can. I'm not saying you have to. I'm saying you can.
I can
join me.
I never will.
Cop, let's join his game and just ruin everything.
I don't even know, like, how would you even do that, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
What would you do to ruin everything in Monster Hunter? Cart 3 times?
Sure.
I mean, that'd be a challenge. You do nothing but get in the monster's way, and can I kill the monster before you cart 3 times? Before either of us cart, or before we cart 3 times in total. Like, that would be a challenge. That would be silly. That would be pain. Your rule would I have to the rule there would have to be you have to heal. You have to heal. If you have healing items, you have to use them, and you have to stock up before every fight. So you can't just sit there and take hits, because some enemies hit really hard. You have to heal. You have to give me time to be able to actually kill the monster without you carting 3 times in a row. And you have to have really good armor, defensive-based armor. I can figure that out. That also means, that'd be fun. I'd have to figure that out. That'd be fun. Because that also means that the monster is stronger than when I play a single player.
So really just being there in general makes it harder for you.
Yeah, so the way Monster Hunter World works, it's very weird, and I feel like this is what it was, is if you play with 1 or 2 players on your team, it scales for 1 or 2. If you have more than 2, it scales for 4. So if you're playing it with three hunt party, at least in World for a while, that's how it did. It would scale for 4 even if you're playing as 3 or something like that. Or it was like I think it was like either Evan or Shahid, somebody didn't like playing in groups of 3 because we didn't get our cats, and so we didn't get to max out the total. I don't know. It was dumb. It was silly, but it is what it is. I'm excited for Wild. I can't wait for that game.
I'm happy for you to be excited. But with that, we will be back next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.